What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the South to Central Florida Sports Report. I'm the host, Ken Landis. We've got a lot going on today, especially with some South Florida teams and one Central Florida team in particular, as well as March Madness. Today is March 16th, 2018, the second day of March Madness. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what my official bracket looks like. I've made a little bit more than just one bracket, but I'm going to go with one official one that I'll show you guys momentarily now that the brackets have closed. So, a lot to get to today. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's see what's coming up on today's show. Leading off once again, the Panthers and their playoff push. Florida's only 3 points out of that second one and 4 out of the first one, so it could get interesting real quick. And speaking of interesting, the Dolphins have made some questionable moves, and we're going to talk about how those could pan out. Next, the Heat are finally heating back up. We're going to go ahead and get into UCF baseball, which I've had a big part of in this year, just broadcasting them in general. And March Madness has begun. We're going to show you my bracket and another fun bracket as well. So as you see, I'm rocking the Florida Panthers 2016 Stanley Cup Playoffs hat. And going to give them some love. I'm not going to give the Marlins any love today just because there's nothing really to talk about. Spring training still in full swing. But to talk about the Florida Panthers for a second, they've got 4 good games coming up. They just beat the Boston Bruins 3-0. James Reimer with a shutout. So that was obviously one of the most important games the Panthers could have won in the late going, especially. I don't think they're going to catch up to Boston or Toronto in the division, but down the stretch, all these games matter. And the next 4 that the Panthers have, they play the Oilers tomorrow. It's a 2 o'clock game on a Saturday, which is one of those matinee games. Then they're going to go ahead and get the Senators on the 20th, but before that they're going to play the Canadiens on the 19th. And then they have a matchup with Columbus the 22nd, a little further down the road. So a lot of important games coming up, ones that are winnable. They also play the Islanders towards the end of the month, so that's a game they need to win. And a lot going on here down the stretch, but the Panthers are still very much in it, and I'll go ahead and show you what exactly the standings look like and their playoff chances as well as we continue to go deeper and deeper into the season. Not a whole lot of games left. I think the Panthers have 14 left, and that's 28 possible points, so let's go ahead and see how they can make the most of them. So there you see 100 points for Tampa, 96 for Boston, 91 for Toronto, and 77 for the Panthers, who are in that 4th spot in the Atlantic Division. No real chance of catching Toronto at this point, but they can easily catch New Jersey and Columbus, as Florida still has 2 games in hand on New Jersey and 3 on Columbus. And in an 82-game season, Panthers are running out of games, but they still have a chance to catch them. They just need to keep winning like they are, 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. Of course, Columbus decides to go on a 6-game winning streak just as we begin our winning streak as well. So very interesting, but playoff chances are still very high for the Panthers and Columbus and New Jersey as well. So I went ahead and highlighted the 3 contenders at this point, and also just wanted to let you know that the Rangers and Islanders are all the way down at 1% chance to make the playoffs and do not control their own destiny. Just had to throw that out there because of all the New York fans that are in South Florida. That's for you right there. But there you go, the Panthers with a 74% chance of making the playoffs according to playoffstatus.com. Blue Jackets have a higher chance and the Devils have a lower chance, so it's going to be interesting. All 3 teams still control their destiny, so if everyone were to win out, the Panthers would actually still be out of the playoffs. Well, no, actually, I take that back. The Panthers would be in because of those games in hand. Just barely beating over the Devils. That's probably why they have them listed before that. But I found a new awesome site, and let's go ahead and flip over to that one real quick. So this is from a site called sportsclubstats.com, and they actually analyze each game and the weight on what it has towards that team's playoff chances. So there you see Florida's win over Boston gave us a plus 9.7 chance of making the playoffs. And they go through that day by day, and as you see, the only one that really affects us today is Washington versus the Islanders, and we actually want Washington to lose just because they're in front of us and the Islanders have virtually no chance of getting in. But I like this one. It breaks it down. As you see, this one only has us at a 69.3% chance. So a little bit of difference. I like to look at the higher number, obviously, but this is cool to see what games impacted us the most and who we need to root for in each game. So looking at all that, I'm still convinced that the Panthers can make the playoffs. Still a very good chance. We just need a little help from Columbus and New Jersey to lose. That's really all we need. But of course, as you saw, Columbus on a 6-game win streak. But as you saw with the Panthers also, all those streaks will come to an end eventually. And just keep your fingers crossed for Columbus and New Jersey to start tanking. I mean, how long can the Devils be carried by their one great player right now, Taylor Hall? So we're going to see how long that lasts. But let's go ahead and get to the Miami Dolphins. And they have had a very interesting offseason, to say the least. Starting with the trade of Jarvis Landry and the whole franchise tag situation. But he's gone now. So there goes our top receiver. And, oh, by the way, Tannehill's back. And I don't know if you'd want to say he's better than ever. But we're going to go ahead and see how his season fares. But he's going to have a lot of new faces to deal with. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of new faces. So this is what made me kind of mad, is that the Dolphins just straight up cut these guys without trying to trade or anything. And obviously the biggest name on there is Suh's name. Ndamukong Suh was really, I mean, he wasn't that much of a factor for the Dolphins. I mean, there were some games where he was outstanding, others he was just kind of really bad. But there you see Mike Pouncey's gone, Julius Thomas, and so is Lawrence Timmons. Lawrence Timmons obviously had that weird holdout situation. But look who we got in. Danny Amendola, William Hayes, Josh Sitton, and I don't know the other three. I haven't heard of them. Comment on if you have and how they are. I'd love to know, because I don't really hear anything other than those top three. And then this wasn't it. There's still more people going out in the trade department. 3 trades so far, and as you see, the first one was actually a good one up here. Robert Quinn coming over to the Dolphins for a couple picks, and we actually got a 6th-round pick back. So we got Robert Quinn for 4th-round pick. I think that's pretty solid. Then obviously see the Jarvis Landry trade. Not a good trade, so I'd say we didn't win that one. And then swapping the 7th-round picks with the 49ers to get center Daniel Kilgore, who will probably be healthier and better than Pouncey was for us. So I like 2 of the trades. Obviously, I don't like the Jarvis Landry trade. But what can you do? So Robert Quinn and Daniel Kilgore, welcome to the team. Happy to have you here. I'm really excited to see what you guys can do with this Miami squad. I just compiled this list to kind of show you exactly what we got in, what we got out based on cuts and trades. So an inclusive list of everything so far that the Dolphins have done this offseason. And as you see, we got rid of Jarvis Landry, but we picked up Amendola, so we still have the receiver. We picked up a linebacker, lost a linebacker. Picked up a defensive lineman, lost a defensive lineman. The only thing we really didn't get back yet is a tight end. So I don't know if I'd say expect a tight end to be signed in the next couple days. It's possible, but I don't know who we'd end up picking up. Maybe we'll end up drafting a tight end of the future. I don't know, but I think the Dolphins need to draft a quarterback, but that's a discussion for another day and another show. So do I think that these moves will make the Dolphins better than they were last year at 6-10 or even the year before that? No, I really don't. I don't think they will be good until either A, Stephen Ross is gone, or B, Ryan Tannehill's gone. I mean, I don't see them winning together, or even maybe Adam Gase, but apparently the Dolphins were going after a culture change, and they certainly have changed out a lot of people, brought a lot of new people in. But, I mean, the culture starts from the coach down, so if that's what you're going for, then you might want to get rid of the coach. And, I mean, culture also extends from the owner, but I don't know. I'm not the GM, thankfully, because that's a really tough job for them to be doing right now, and they're doing a really lousy job of it. But let's see what they do in the draft. I think that they should pursue a quarterback or maybe trade a pick for a big-name player. But we're going to talk about that later in another show as the draft gets closer. We've still got about a month till the draft. I think it's April 26th. Today is March 16th, so a month and 10 days-ish, something like that. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But now let's go ahead and we're going to get back into the NBA and the Heat's playoff chances. And it's really starting to look like they will make the playoffs. It's just a matter of where and what seed that they're going to get. And so they're probably going to be stuck at an 8 seed. But let's go ahead and check it out just to show you guys what the standings look like. And also their playoff chances are pretty good at this point. Toronto and Boston have both punched their tickets to the postseason. As you see, Toronto's on an absolute tear, 10-game winning streak, 51-17. But as we scroll all the way down to the Miami Heat here, 6-4 in the last 10, and a good amount of games ahead of Detroit, 5.5 to be exact. And then the tussle for that, anywhere from the 4th to the 8th seed, is still pretty wide open. I mean, even the 3 seed, if you want to count that, 4 games behind the 3 seed. So Cleveland has fallen to some mediocrity here, and Heat are still 36 and 33, only 3 games over 500, but can somehow still work their way back into the picture and possibly even work for home court advantage in one of these playoff rounds. So as you see, this is the playoff standings percentages brought to you by playoffstatus.com once again. And those little mountains under the no playoffs section means that the team has clinched, and everyone in the playoff picture right now has a 1% chance or less than a 1% chance of making or of missing the playoffs. So as you see, we've kind of got our 8 teams in the East. The Pistons looking in from the outside, along with the Hornets. They're really only 2 close ones. Close is a relative term in this case. And as you see, the Magic, another Central Florida team, has been eliminated. But it looks like the Heat can get anywhere from that 3 to the 4 spot. Everyone's pretty tussling up for it, but as you see, Heat are most likely to take that 8th seed with a chance of getting the 7th seed. So as you see, the Heat have a relatively great chance of getting into the playoffs. It's just they might have to face the red-hot Raptors in the first round if they stay at that 8th seed. So unless they pick up their play, they're going to maybe have a first-round exit, but I'm fairly confident that the Heat will make it into the playoffs. And, let's just see how far they go. It just depends on if they want to be hot going to the playoffs or if they're going to skid their way to the finish line. But moving on from that, we're going to go ahead and talk about some UCF Knights baseball. They have just upped their rank to number 19 in the nation. They swept the Florida Gators in a 2-game series in the middle of the week. On Tuesday, they were at home at John Juliana Park. And then on Wednesday, they went to Gainesville and beat the Gators there as well. And the Gators only dropped to 2, and somehow we only went up from 23rd to 19th. But whatever, we'll just see how the rest of the season goes. And I'll be witnessing most of that, as I do have an internship with the UCF baseball program for their broadcasting. So I've been broadcasting a couple games. I've gotten to call a couple Tyler Osick walk-offs, so that's always fun. UCF did just lose their last game to the University of Miami. They play Chicago State today. I'll be on the call for that one. Tune in to UCFKnights.tv if you want to check that out. Let's see what else. Let's go with, the reason that they're doing so well is stolen bases. They are first in the nation, a 19th ranked team, first in the nation in stolen bases, which obviously moves guys into scoring position and makes the hitting a lot easier on the guys. Just lots of hit and runs the other way, all that good stuff. And the pitching has also been fantastic, almost at 200 strikeouts for the year, and this is the 19th game upcoming. So a lot of exciting things going on with UCF baseball. If you haven't been out to a game yet, I suggest you go. It's a good time. It's a good team to watch, and hopefully they'll keep getting better as the year goes along. And pushing towards that College World Series is always a tough task. So moving on from Central Florida teams to sort of a national thing, obviously March Madness is just starting, and everyone gets all crazy about the brackets, including me. I've actually made 25 brackets. I've maxed out as many as you can make in the ESPN website, fantasy games, whatever you want to call it. So I've maxed out the brackets I've made there, and they've been a variety of like coin flips and just silly stuff like that. But I did make a couple serious ones, but I will go with one official bracket that I will show you guys right now, and I'm not too confident in it, but just for the sake of this show, let's go ahead and show it to you. I know it's tiny, I know it's hard to read, but I just figured I'd get this out here and show you all what I think is going to happen. And obviously, I've already had my bracket busted, already 3 incorrect picks, so that's out the window. But here is my Final Four. I've got Cincinnati facing Michigan, and I've got Villanova facing Kansas. And it's very rare for all the 1 seeds to get in, or all the 1 and 2 seeds to get in, so I thought I'd shake it up a bit. I think that Nova will get upset by Kansas, and I think that Cincinnati will be able to upset University of Virginia in that Elite 8 matchup, and I think ultimately Kansas will win. I feel like I pick Kansas every year, but they are such a great talent that how can you not do that? They're such a great program with great history. So we'll go ahead and see how true this was, and then we'll go ahead and look back on it at the end of March Madness. So that's my pick as of right now. I mean, I'll probably show you my best bracket at the end and say it was my bracket, but I'll show both. I'll show the one I showed you guys, see how that one turns out, and then show you the other one as well, whichever one is best after that. But I like brackets in general. Like, this is a really fun time just to see all the craziness. So some guy on UCF Twitter, like the UCF Twitter sphere, if you want to call it that, made a bracket, and I'm going to go ahead and show that to you and show you my picks from that just for fun, because, why not? So let's go ahead and show it to you. So this is from a page called UCF Problems. You can find them on Twitter at UCF_problems. But here you see they made a couple divisions that are actually housing communities on the UCF campus. So I thought that was cool. So let's go ahead and fill this bad boy out and see what we get. We'll go ahead and get started in this Towers bracket. I blew this up just so you could see it a little bit better. I know it's hard to read, but bear with me here. So Tosh Bueno obviously beats the crappy CFP committee, who are very biased. I don't know the next matchup, so I just put a bunch of question marks. Memory Mall is a part of UCF history. George O'Leary is obviously a part of history too, but not a good one. Spirit Splash Ducks are awesome. Greg Lovelady is too. Mackenzie Milton, great Peach Bowl contributor. J.J. Wharton and Brandon Marshall move on. And Milton beats out Marshall, and Memory Mall beats out Tosh Point. I'm not a huge fan of Tosh Point. And so we get Memory Mall to the Final Four out of this group here. The Nike Hercules bracket section is an interesting one, as obviously Blake Bortles is going to be destroying the kicker that left UCF football to make his own YouTube channel. Mark Daniels is going to move on. He's an 8 seed. I feel like he should be a lot higher than that. He's like the voice of every single UCF sport. He's also my boss, so I like listening to his broadcasts. He's got great broadcasts. He's a fantastic guy. But unfortunately, Blake Bortles is going to move past him in this first round because he's just a stellar quarterback, one of the best in UCF history, if not the second best behind Dante Culpepper. But as you see, Nitro is going to end up coming out of this one as a 13 seed, so obviously this guy didn't get the seeding right. 8 at Mark Daniels and 13 for Nitro. Of course, some questionable seeding, but still a fun time. Matt Prater and Asante Samuel, 2 other noticeable names. So is Josh Heupel, who ended up taking a picture with me. Saw him in the CNN Center across the street from where the Peach Bowl was happening, so that was fun. So Nitro is going to come out of this bracket, and how can you not pick Nitro? 12 and a 13 seed, 2 real big upsets in the Final Four. Next is the Lake Claire section of the bracket, and Shaquem Griffin is going to go all the way to the Final Four for obvious reasons. Some kid that everyone doubts, and he just continues to perform on the field. Some other notable matchups here: Scott Frost over the Bounce House. Even though the Bounce House was here before Scott Frost was a big reason why it started to fill up again and continue bouncing. The Citronaut, one of the great logos of UCF, gets trumped by Scott Frost. Huey Magoo's, I love Huey Magoo's, so they're going to go all the way to the Elite Eight against Shaquem Griffin, a big part of UCF. But Shaquem Griffin's obviously going to come out there. And so there's 3 of my Final Four. Now we're going to move on to that Libra section of the bracket to see who that last of the Final Four are. And how can you not go with Danny White after the marketing effort that he's put forward? Just absolutely propelled UCF to the top of everybody's conversation and their Twitter feed, mind you. So I love number 14 seed in this, having a geographically correct school name. I wonder who that's a shot at. University of Western Florida, or they like to call themselves USF. But how could you not go with Danny White as your last Final Four here, after what he's done for this school in recent years, propelling us into a conversation nationally for sports and for academics as well. So after a lot of thought, it was a hard decision after these Final Four were here. So I chose Danny White over Shaquem Griffin just simply because Shaquem Griffin is a football player, and Danny White doesn't only manage the athletic department of football, he manages the entire athletic department. So I had to go with Danny White moving on over Shaquem Griffin, even though I love Shaquem Griffin, fantastic guy, and so is Danny White. Moving on to the other side, Memory Mall versus Nitro, a 12 versus 13 seed. Nitro is what makes everything great. Memory Mall is a place where you go to tailgate for football and walk across for classes. So Nitro is always just energetic. This is just a mall. So I went with Nitro, and then Nitro versus Danny White. Without Danny White, Nitro would probably not be there as well. Danny White is what keeps the athletic program going, money-wise and social media-wise, marketing-wise, all that, and Nitro is just the face of it. So all really awesome brackets here, and I really enjoyed putting this bracket together. It was a lot of fun. So thank you to UCF Problems for this. And after all that madness, our show has finally come to an end. A little longer of a show than I thought it would be, but hey, we got a lot of content in, and I hope you all enjoyed that content. If you like that UCF bracket, go ahead and fill out one of your own and tell me what you get. Go ahead and leave that in the comment section, or tell me who your real Final Four teams are. And if you want to tell me I'm crazy for picking Kansas, go ahead and leave that in the comments as well too. Or just talk about some sports with me. Just leave it in the comments, or you can even find us on Twitter now. We have Twitter. I'll put it at the end of the video here as well in the comment section, a link to go find the Twitter page that we have. You can also just search South to Central Florida Sports Report on Twitter, and you should be able to find us, no problem. But hope you enjoyed this. If you didn't, well, sorry. Leave a comment. Let me know what I should do to improve. And just keep tuning in. Go ahead and subscribe so you're able to hear when I upload another episode, or get a notification, whatever they do, to notify you that I did another episode. So love to hear more from you guys. See what you think of this channel, this show, my Twitter feed. I'll try and keep all the up-to-date scores on the Twitter feed, so I don't have to keep posting videos all the time. But I will try and keep coming out with a new one every week, every 2 weeks or so. So keep checking back in, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Catch y'all on the flip side.